fall colors and waterfalls, two of my favorite things. And welcome back to the channel, by the way. In this video, I'm going to share with you a recent trip that I made to one of my favorite waterfalls. And what I'm going to be talking about is a location that I've been to many times. So the question I'm asking myself, how can I do it differently this time? And we're going to find out. My name is Jerry Kita, and I live in North Carolina. A few years ago, as I was approaching retirement, I purchased a camera with the idea of becoming a photographer. Since then, photography has taken me to some wonderful places all over the world, and I've made many new friends. I've come a long way, but I know I'm still trying to figure this all out. I'm having a lot of fun, and this is my journey. So as I said, I visited a waterfall that I've visited a number of times. And let me show you a photo that I have taken of it in the past. And I like the photo. As you can see, it's a pretty cool waterfall. It's really two waterfalls in one, although it goes by a single name. And I've taken this picture probably several times in, different conditions. So what I'm concentrating on right now is this part here. You see this little cascade in the front. And my thought as I'm heading here is to how can I utilize that cascade or some other cascade and create maybe a more interesting foreground and perhaps give me a different photo than I've taken in the past. So let me take you through that.
It's actually a double falls, and it's really kind of cool. I've been here a couple of times. There's always a good amount of water coming down, and you've got a lot of rapids here that give you some interesting opportunities. And what I've got my eye on is I'm looking for a little cascade that I can use as a foreground, and the one I think I've found is let me see if I can get to it. It's right there. And if I can get, so I've got my waders on, or my big boots, so I'm going to get into the water and set up something and see if I can use that as foreground, and we'll see what we get. I think I've got what I'm looking for here. All right, so the settings, I've got about a sixth of a second. No, 0.6 seconds. F18, ISO 400. I got a
So in the interest of your time, let me describe what I was doing here as I was setting up. So when it comes to waterfalls and any kind of moving water, the first thing I do is try to figure out the right shutter speed. And for me, when it comes to waterfalls or any type of fast moving water, the sweet spot seems to be between 0.4 and 0.8 seconds. Of course, there will be circumstances when it's different, but that's kind of where I end up falling. And then when I get that set to where I think the look of the water in the image is going to be the way I want it, then I'll start messing with the aperture in the ISO to ultimately get the right exposure. I used to obsess about keeping the ISO as close to 100 as possible, and I've kind of moved off of that for a couple of reasons. One, my camera is quite capable of handling high ISOs, even as high as 3200. And with the software you got out there to eliminate noise, it's just, for me at least, become a non-issue. So my priority after the shutter speed is getting the aperture right. And I will try to get, especially in these type of scenes, as high a depth of field as I possibly can, and to at least minimize the amount of focus stacking that I have to do. So that's what was going on in this particular sequence. The other thing that I was trying to figure out is how close did I want to be to that foreground cascade. And when I first looked at it, I thought it was okay. And as I looked at it, and I did a few test shots, I just had too much water in front of the camera, and it was all white. And I just don't like that look. So what I did was I just kind of moved back gradually, step by step, until I found a place where I was really satisfied that, yeah, this is exactly where I'm going to set up the tripod, and this is exactly what the height of the camera is going to be. So that's what I was doing there. So after all that, what did we get? Let's take a look, shall we? So this is the first image that I got out of that setup. And as you can see, I had moved the camera back. Oh, and by the way, did I mention that this is the fall time? I love the colors at this time of year. We've got the oranges and the yellows up here. Really like coming to this waterfall. In fact, any waterfall at this time of year. So you can see what that setup got us. Made use of this cascade in the front. I backed away from it. When I had set up earlier, I was like right on top of it, and all you saw was white, and I just don't like that look. And I decided to use a square crop. And I think, you know, all things considered, it worked out pretty well. A little different than, you know, the original photo that I showed you at the beginning of the video. But what I also did is I decided I would move about 2 or 3 steps to the left with the camera and tripod, and this is what we got. And I like this look a little bit better, where you've got the waterfall kind of starting in the left third of the photograph, and the cascade kind of leading out to the bottom right hand corner. And I found this much more appealing than this. And this is fine. I mean, I don't have a problem with it. It's a decent photograph. But I think this just tells a better story. Now, the other thing I did as I continued to look at this, I thought there was a lot of empty space out in the right and maybe even out in to the left that wasn't adding a lot to the image. And then what I ultimately did is I cropped it. And this is, if I had to pick a shot, this is the one I kind of settled on. And I don't know if you can see it on the screen. Let me go back to the other one. This one is a lot cooler than this one. And, you know, for reasons I can't really explain, I just like the look of this one better. So that's what we came away with. However, we didn't stop there. There is more.
All right, we're gonna try another one here. There's just so many different options, and we have the time, so we'll take advantage of it. But what this looks like on the back of the camera is pretty good. We got the 2 cascades, one to the right and left. Got an interesting rock in there in the second, or I'm sorry, an interesting rock in the center. And I think the other thing that's going to make this photo, there's a lot of leaves on the ground, kind of brown orangish color, which will, you know, if I just kind of saturate them a bit, I think it's going to look really nice.
I could not be more wrong about that one. So let's take a look at it here. And it's not a horrible photograph, but for some reason in camera, I thought that this cascade here would nicely balance the cascade over to the left, when in fact, in my opinion, it provides nothing. It's just, you know, a bunch of little, you know, mini cascades that, you know, appear to be inconsequential. And I think if you were to take a quick look at this photograph, you'd not really see anything over on the right. So what I said was, well, why don't we take this and crop it a bit? And this is what, you know, ultimately I came up with, which I think is much better than this. And so, you know, it kind of salvaged something out of, you know, an image that I thought was not particularly great. So that's what I did with that one. We have one more composition that we tried before we called it a day and got back on the road. And I want to show you that right now.
Found another one here that I quite like. I'm going to do it as a portrait. Let's see if I can show you. There we go. Yeah, I think this one can work. This might be the one I walk away with. Let's see how this goes.
So that was the last composition we tried during the day, so let's take a look at it. And here it is. I did it in a portrait mode, and I gotta tell you, I liked it. I like it. I like it a lot. And you've got the two, the double waterfall here at the top, and you see this little cascade that probably takes about 40% of the image. And you see it just kind of running nicely, off to the left-hand corner. I think the shutter speed, which I believe was about 0.6 seconds, works for this photograph. I like the colors. I like the reds at the bottom. You've got the greens and the yellows. And I think one of the better images I've taken at this waterfall. So there you have it. What do I take away from this trip to this waterfall? If I reflect on it, I think over the last couple of years I've learned patience when I come up on a scene such as this. There was a time where I would come up upon a location that I really liked, and I would immediately drop my camera bag, set up my tripod, put my camera on top of the tripod, and that would be my composition. I think where I've progressed the most is coming to a scene, surveying it patiently, and having an idea of how I want to construct the photo. And I'd like to think I've improved over the last few years. So with that, if you are still with me, I thank you. And if you found something interesting in this video, please consider giving it a like, a thumbs up, and even leaving a comment. And what I'd really love if you'd consider subscribing to the channel. Until next time, we'll see you.